Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Conservative Circle. And today I have a very special guest, a state representative for Tennessee, Monty Fritz, who is running for governor. So let's go ahead and invite him in. Well, hello, Mr. Fritz. Thank you so much for being here today.
Well, I appreciate you having me. Thank you so much. I hope you're doing well today.
Thank you. I am. You've also served in the Army. So I want to just thank you for your service to our country.
Yes, sir.
And now I want to ask you, why are you running for governor?
Well, I think that the first part of the answer, the straight, direct answer is I feel called to do so. I think it helps to go back a little bit into why I ran for state rep to start with. I really became frustrated in what was happening in Nashville, Tennessee, and the governor's overreach into our rights during COVID, the failure of many in state government to stand up for Tennessee citizens, and with mask mandates and vax mandates and declaring people non-essential and all those things, it really gave me a good dose of righteous indignation. And so I ran, and I term limited myself to two-year terms, and was happy to get out of it. But some months back, I really just received a burden from God that, I need to run for this office. And so we're trusting him, running as hard as we can. And we're definitely, some of the other candidates refer to us as things as like sideshows and irrelevant and things like that. I think primarily, my friend, they do that because they don't understand the concept of liberty and less government. They don't understand what our founders intended. They've been in politics long enough, whether it's decades or 8 years, that they've lost touch with the people in Tennessee and have become controlled by lobbyists and special interest groups. And so I intend to bring an option to the table that is Christ first and very focused on our Constitution, our Tennessee first when it comes to political ideology, America first ideology when it comes to our national interest. And I think we need that.
And yeah, I do want to ask you about AIPAC. You know what that is? That's the pro-Israel lobby. And your opponent, Marcia Blackburn, has accepted money from AIPAC. First, for people that don't know really what is AIPAC and how is it controlling our politicians?
Well, let me tell you what any PAC is: a political action committee. They're designed to do legislative influence, and we have. I think the number you just posted is probably an error. I think Senator Blackburn's probably received much more money than that. Congressman Rose has also received lots of money. I think most of the people in the Tennessee contingent have taken money from that PAC. It is an American-based PAC, but it's designed to influence toward the interest of Israel. And I will tell you, I don't have any problem with having allied relationships with lots of nations around the world. I think if you go back to what George Washington said in his farewell address, he gave us a big caution on a couple things. And one of them was, don't get too close to foreign nations and don't push the others too far away. I mean, that's kind of my paraphrase of what his guidance was. And so I can't imagine why any politician would knowingly accept money from a political action committee that really had interest in any other nation, not just Israel, but any other nation. I will tell you, my friend, I was greatly offended that we had the King of England come and address the U.S. Congress on the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence from an evil Great Britain. I thought that was an absolute slap in the face. We do need to maintain diplomatic relationships. We do need to care for one another, but it is not the taxpayer's responsibility of Tennessee taxpayer or American taxpayers' responsibility to fund the efforts in hundreds of other nations. And we do that. Meanwhile, we have Tennesseans who happen to be 100% disabled or at least a veteran status that can't get the help they need, and in many cases are homeless. I think that's crazy. Let me go just a little further with that. I've been fortunate as a state rep not to take any political action committee money. Now, that's outside my local Roane County GOP and the Loudoun County GOP, and they're counted as a PAC. And so I think I have the best rating in the state in the General Assembly in campaign finance regarding not taking PAC money. I know I'm the best on the Republican side. I think some of the Democrats cheat on their reporting, just to be honest. I say that with a smile on my face. I think they have a different way of doing it. I think they harvest lots of money. But I think that if you had asked me 5 years ago when I got into politics what I thought about a political action committee, I would have probably thought about the NRA or some of the Right to Life groups or something. And I thought, wow, that's probably I've been an NRA Life member for a long time. I'm a Tennessee Firearms Association Life member who has an LAC or a PAC. I am Gun Owners of America, National Association of Gun Rights. So I support lots of organizations that do campaign contributions with political action committees. And I think there are good PACs. But I was blessed to have enough money not to have to accept a bunch of PAC money to get elected. I think it helped me in the state because I think I can point toward even state representatives and senators who have allowed their votes to be influenced more by the people, the PACs that give them money than the people that they work for in their districts. And I think that happens at a federal level. I think we've allowed this fundraising orgy type approach that we have in politics today to make it seemingly okay to take money from anybody. I've got to tell you, it's not just the PAC that you mentioned, the APAC. I often use the phrase APAC to ZPAC, just, to kind of cover the entire alphabet, because I don't think we should be taking money from big pharmaceutical companies that have proven themselves to not, in many cases, be in the best interest of the citizen. You only have to go to the opioid crisis that we suffered to realize that money may have influenced decisions there that resulted in the deaths of Americans. And, the Bible tells us the love of money is the root of all evil. I think I'll be 63 this year, and I think I see that much more every year, how true God's word is.
Yeah. All right, so just a quick announcement, and we'll be right back. Love freedom and hate censorship? Well, if that's you, you need some Freedom Uncensored merch. Go to Freedom Uncensored, and you can get 25% off by using promo code AMERICA. That's promo code AMERICA for 25% off. So what are you waiting for? So you have been running a more America First campaign versus a MAGA campaign. What is the difference between a MAGA campaign and America First?
Well, let me just tell you what I stand for and I would even narrow that down a little bit, brother, because I'm running to be governor of the state of Tennessee. So I'll even make it Tennessee first and citizen only. I think that it is our obligation in the oath we take to the Constitution to make our primary interest the people for whom we work, the ones we serve, right? We've allowed politics to become something of celebrity and position of influence. Our founders did not intend that. Our founders intended our state representatives and our state senators and our U.S. congressmen and U.S. senators and governors and presidents to work for the people of Tennessee and the United States, respectively. And we've allowed ourselves to get out of that. I think part of what we just talked about before your break is indicative that many of these people in politics are not America first. If they're taking money that could, maybe it doesn't influence their votes, but just the fact there's an appearance of impropriety there, one would think they'd just give the money back. They have lots of money. The other two folks that are running for governor are rolling in cash from other PACs and, just personal fortunes. Why wouldn't you just give that money back to get rid of that perception? And what I think that means is it's not really indicative of them being America first. I think constitutional adherence is a Tennessee first policy. I think small government, reducing the overreach of government into the citizens' daily lives, is a Tennessee first, America first policy. I think fiscal responsibility is a Tennessee first, America first priority. I think that at a state level, not participating in corporate welfare using the taxpayers' dollars to do such is a Tennessee first approach. I have this crazy idea that liberty and less government will draw not only citizens to want to move to Tennessee because quality of life is better, but will also draw industry here. But we've adopted a policy over the last number of years in Tennessee, even before Governor Lee, where we use Tennessee tax dollars to incentivize companies to come here. There's a recent report that there's $30 million of Tennessee money going to be used to incentivize Starbucks to move headquarters to Tennessee. And while one of the other candidates for governor expresses his discontent with that, he's okay with those dollars going to other companies, I think, because he doesn't speak against it. I think constitutionally, within the bounds of the Constitution, we don't have any permission to expend public money with private companies and pick winners and losers. I think you see at a national political level, many of those who have enriched themselves have either done that by stock trading, or because their influence allows them to push government funding in the direction of something that benefits them. Our founders would never have tolerated that. We shouldn't tolerate it today. I think that Tennessee first and citizen only means that we don't, not only do we deport all illegals, and from a state perspective, having a voice of that. So the state doesn't have the authority for the deportation. That's a federal government responsibility clearly in the Constitution. But the governor's got to be pushing for that. The governor's also got to be standing up and saying it's not the responsibility of the taxpayer, the citizen taxpayer, to fund the education, the healthcare, or the housing of foreign citizens who are illegally in the United States. I would offer foreign citizens who are legally in the United States also fall in that category. I would think that the last thing I would offer in what is Tennessee first, it is a maintaining of our Christian heritage that is tremendously important. We were founded as a Christian nation. This state was founded by at least Christian ideology. None of them perfect, from George Washington on down to John Sevier. None of them were perfect men. That's why we need the blood of Christ. That's why he took the nails and the crown of thorns, is because I can't attain salvation. I needed that perfect sacrifice, that perfect lamb, the Son of God, the Lion of the tribe of Judah. But they had a Christian worldview. And today, politics has adopted a polytheistic, something other than we the people view of what politics is. And it's really about enriching themselves in politics. And so, again, Tennessee first is very much those things. And it is fighting for a maintenance of that heritage that God has given us.
So one last question, because I know you have to go. If you are elected governor, what would be your 3 top priorities in the first year?
Yeah, so my first priority is clearly leaving more money in the pockets of Tennesseans, because we send far too many dollars to Nashville at this point, tax dollars. Our budget grew over first 6 years of Governor Lee's holding office by 59%. That growth, while we have a balanced budget requirement in our Constitution, that growth exceeds the pace of growth of the national debt, where those career DC politicians have continued to increase our debt to almost $40 trillion. That should alarm people. Ending the corporate welfare is a part of holding that exclusivity of who the governor's actually working for. The governor of the state, just as the president is working for we the people, and we the people is an exclusive term. That doesn't mean that we're better than every other nationality, but it means that our responsibility and priorities go toward our citizenship as Americans. The same thing applies to the governor of the state of Tennessee. And when we're expending monies on corporate welfare, we're not honoring that. How do we accomplish that? Couple things. First, I've already mentioned stopping the corporate welfare. I've tried twice, and I will, as governor, lead us to removing the 4% state grocery sales tax in Tennessee. That seems like a de minimis thing to many people when I talk about it, but it's really extracting some of that power that we're sending to Nashville now. And it goes through that spin cycle, if you will, of Nashville politics, and they redistribute those dollars on things like Titan stadiums or Starbucks or many other things, new ball fields and zoos and things that aren't within the constitutional parameters. I say leave those dollars in the pockets of the citizens and in their county coffers. And when I say county coffers, I mean this, Jeffrey. I think that there will be a supply side economics boost by removing that tax. I think that most of our Tennessee neighbors need those 4 cents on each dollar that they're currently paying in taxation on groceries. I think they'll spend it either on other groceries or on clothing or on cars or on rent. And I think that makes our economies locally healthier. And it takes a portion, small portion. That 4% equates to about $880 million on last year's estimate of tax collection. Again, I think in a $60 billion budget, we can afford that. Secondly, underneath that first bullet, we need to reform property taxes in Tennessee. We need to stop taxation against unrealized gains, these unrealized capital gains. These 4 and 5 year assessments are making it difficult on folks now. They're going to make it unmanageable in the future. We've got to get this stopped. We've got to drive a stake in the ground at a certain year and say, from this point forward, your real estate, your residential real estate at least, is only worth what you paid for it. And that's the only tax base you can be assessed against. Property taxes are constitutional currently in the state of Tennessee, and that's a constitutional way to approach that. Secondly, in that, I think it's an immoral thing to evict a person from their residence because they're delinquent in property taxes. And so the bill I've carried as a legislator will be what I'm pushing for as a governor to be able to retract that. My second priority is recalibrating government in Nashville, Tennessee, state government, to realize that they work for the people and under the authority of two things. First of all, the authority of Almighty God's word, and second, the Constitution. I think there has to be a moral basis for our Constitution to work. Our founders said that. I still hold to that. I think that we, again, need leadership in Nashville that will adhere to our Christian heritage. I think that how do we accomplish that? Our commissioners must be able to pass a test on the Constitution. Many of them don't think it applies to them today, the Tennessee nor the U.S. Constitution. Mm-hmm. They'll pass the test or not hold the job. I think that we're top heavy in state government. We have too many suits and ties and not enough work gloves and steel-toed boots in the workforce. I'm going to change that paradigm in Nashville. We have people that actively lobby against your rights that are state employees while on the clock, lobbying against your gun rights or your private property rights. That's not constitutional. I will move all those people and give them an opportunity to work on the governor's helpline, answering emails and calls from folks like yourself when you have a complaint, a criticism, or a compliment, and you reach out to the governor of the state of Tennessee, you ought to hear from the governor's office a reply of some sort.
Yeah.
So, lastly, in that, how do we recalibrate government? Requiring an open door policy on a regular basis, not only with the commissioners and the senior leaders for the state 40,000+ state employees, but also for the average citizen, where they meet and hear face to face, and you have like a people's day, if you will, with them. The governor's office is going to do that under my leadership. I don't know if it's going to be the first Saturday or the third Friday or something, but we're going to try to find a time and say between the hours of 9 and 12, the governor's going to be in his office. And if you'll come and line up and come in, you're going to have one-on-one time with the governor of the state of Tennessee to talk about what's working, what's not, and let your petitions be known. I think that's constitutional. I think it's foundationally important, and I think it will help restore the confidence of the average Tennessean that somebody in Nashville, Tennessee is working for them. Finally, on that second point, I think the governor of the state of Tennessee not only needs to be accessible to other than celebrity people in Nashville, but he needs to be traveling about the state, routinely meeting in the county seats or in our cities and towns, places like New River and Lawrenceburg. And he needs to announce that he's going to be there between the hours of such and such and such and such on whatever day. And again, the people ought to expect to come and talk to their governor and say, this is working. I need help here. And not everybody's going to walk away from those conversations getting exactly what they want. But just being heard is absolutely important. And then finally, I'll give a quick priority, and I'll combine a couple things. One is we have to have education excellence in Tennessee. The voucher scam is not pushing education excellence. It's a soft form of Marxism and socialism that is contrary to Article 11, Section 12 of the Tennessee Constitution. We must demand that our public schools provide excellence. Part of that is they've been misguided by the State Department of Education in Tennessee. We're going to recalibrate that. And that education needs to lead us to understand civics and elections better so that we are continually improving our elections process. And if I could add one quick thing to that, I'd say this. I think the greatest risk that we face is not those three things I just mentioned. I think the greatest risk we face is a further and greater disengagement by the average citizen in Tennessee, that even though they vote for people and people promise them they're going to do this or that, and when they get elected, they do what the lobbyists and the PACs tell them to do, or the Nashville establishment politicians tell them to do. I think that's dangerous for us. I think we're going to create a vacuum with our diminished voter turnout on election days that's going to be filled with an element of people that could care less about our Constitution, that could care less about our Christian heritage. And I think that some of those things I just mentioned help restore that confidence, and hopefully we'll see an engagement of the public come back up because they realize their vote does matter and that someone in Nashville, Tennessee is listening to them. They don't have to be a wealthy Starbucks owner or corporatist or World Economic Forum person that the governor meets with, but he meets with average Tennesseans that God has blessed mightily, and average Tennesseans that are struggling to get by, because both groups have a say with their governor.
Well, thank you, Mr. Fritz, and good luck on your race. Thank you for being here. Everyone, thank you for watching, and make sure you tune in this Friday. Thank you.
God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.